here on the HP-41CL. This was originally dreamed up, it seems, by Monty Dalrymple back for the came to a San Jose conference 10 years ago plus, and I remember hearing it going, well, it would be great, but no way. There's no way he'd be able to pull this thing off. And so Monty, I'm very sorry. He definitely has, and it's been out for a couple of years now, but a great deal of progress and innovation has occurred with what software is now newly available for the HP-41CL. New ROMs, you see it sometimes talked about on the HP Museum, but I know some of that stuff can just float right over our heads, especially if we don't have a 41CL, so I wanted to try to encourage you to get on the bandwagon. Because if you like the HP-41, you will love the HP-41CL. You have an opportunity to do that with the premium prize table this year because Gunther, thank you so much Gunther, has bought and has donated a 41CL board, the current new version, as a premium prize. And if I get a premium prize call out and it's still up here, it's going home with me, so you better grab it quick.
Well, do you have to mount it in the
This you have to have a 41C full nut. Talk about that in just a minute. And you replace the CPU board. This is the new board. $250+ prize right there.
May I add to that?
Absolutely.
That Monty gave me a significant discount on that, just for the donation.
It still is a wonderful gift from Gunther, so very much thank you. So let's talk a little bit about the 41CL. What is it? It is a replacement CPU board for full nut calculators, full nut 41C calculators. It has all of the HP-41CX functionality except for the time module actual presence. The time functions are in the 41CL, but you have to have a physical time module plugged into the back of the machine for the time functions to really have a whole lot of meaning whatsoever. It includes 512 pages, each of which are 4K of flash, and 128K pages, 4K of 128 pages, 4K of RAM. Roughly 410 of those pages come preloaded with HP-41 software. It includes every HP-41 ROM known, including several dozen written in the last few years, and has a turbo mode which runs at supposedly 50 times regular speed.
Instant, like SAW would give you instantly.
It's incredible, but it's not quite 50. It's running, it's thinking 50, but some things take a little, whatever. What is the cost? It's about $250 to get the board, and you still have to install it. It's not too terribly difficult, but you've got to be paying real close attention. What are your alternatives to the 41CL? Well, one is a no VRAM module. That's a plug-in ROM-looking module that has ROM and flash that you have to, a USB burner to load stuff from your computer into the no VRAM module or Clonix D, something like that. It's a good and ancillary purchase to the 41CL.
That price includes the programmer.
This includes the programmer you need for it. Another one is one that was really had a lot of press a few years ago, the Machine Language Development Lab 2000. That's about $400. About $400. Why would you want a 41CL? I mean, come on, it's 41. Look, all of you all spent much more than the 41CL cost to come here. Okay? And if you like the 41, what are you waiting for? I mean, seriously, what are you waiting for? By the way, who has a 41CL in the room?
Who has more than one?
Hey, no, look, I want you to look. All of you know what I'm talking about, hopefully, with the 41CL. For you, this talk is going to be load the new ROMs. Here's what the new ROMs do. For those of you that don't have a 41CL, it's a great way to have access to essentially everything ever done for the HP-41, which is just fabulous.
So you can load more ROMs as they come out?
It has blank pages, and you can load new ROMs into the 41CL and increase functionality, take advantage of things such as the very recently introduced, well, I won't tell you, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Well, and the chances of you having a ROM that's not there are very slim.
Right. One of the interesting ROMs that's relatively new for the 41CL is the Library 4 ROM. The Library 4 ROM. It is a page 4 in the HP-41 architecture is a takeover ROM space. There were a few of these takeover ROMs developed originally. One was the service module, the diagnostic module, and one I think was a post office module. Well, it seemed like...
Is that a takeover?
I thought it was a takeover, maybe not, but the other was the 4th ROM, right? And the HP-41 operating system, if it sees something at page 4, it goes there first, and so it can take over the machine. Well, it's unused almost all the time, right? So Angel Martin had this idea of, hey, what I need to do is to fool the 41 operating system into not knowing it's there, so it's not a takeover, but he allows machine language M-code calls to subroutines that reside in page 4 to save a lot of time, space, and stuff like that for M-code, micro-coded functions and ROMs that are in the rest of the 41C operating system. For example, I thought it was the post office ROM, maybe not. It resides at page 4, but it's not a takeover. It's an M-code subroutine ROM. In many ways, this is truly the successor of the PPC ROM, because this is a library of subroutines that are globally available to the M-code programmer. So it's an M-code PPC ROM in spirit. It has over 100 callable M-code functions, such as, here's a bizarre one. In 41 M-code, to add 1 to register C in a library 4-aware ROM takes 2 instructions. That and this, whatever, right? That 2-byte call saves 7 bytes instead of coding it by hand. In dividing a number in C by 2 takes 2 bytes. It replaces 8 bytes if you have an M-code routine. To perform mod C, comma 2, right, which is an odd-even check, takes 2 bytes compared to 13. So imagine, again, the savings that you could get from that. You remember the old steps used and bytes saved little table for subroutines, whether to do it? This pays incredible dividends at an M-code level. Now, how many people here code M-code? No. I mean, recently today, Eric, doesn't surprise me. But the rest of us, it doesn't matter. We can take advantage of the benefits of this because there are a lot of libraries, ROMs now available for the 41CL that are Library 4 aware. They expect this Library 4 ROM to be virtually present in the 41CL. And so when you're running them, it kicks off subroutine calls to that Library 4 space, allowing much more stuff to be jammed into the ROM images. We're going to see some of those here in just a minute. One of the ROMs, for example, I want to call your attention to is the Ccd Os Extension Rom. All this stuff, by the way, is on the not only is the PowerPoint on your thumb drive, but a text file with all this stuff more or less in it is on the thumb drive too. OSX3 is the mnemonic. All the ROMs in the 41CL have a 4-letter mnemonic to specify where they are, so that's the thing you need to know for this. Library 4 is required. It contains 16K of code, but takes 1 page. So it's a quadruple bank switched ROM. Okay. The Advantage ROM used to have 2 4K pages or 2 8K pages and then another page that switched on one of them. This one's jammed into 1 4K logical space but has 4 things beneath it. I mean, 3 things beneath it. Incredible. I mean, it's just incredible. It includes 55 OS extensions from the CCD and Pan Am ROMs from Squid, Ken Emery, Ross Cooling, and all these other people that did all this great stuff in the past.
Squid and Ken Emery are one and the same.
Shh. Can you erase that?
No.
By the way, Ross Cooling did a lot of M-code stuff late in the PPC Journal lifetime. I actually emailed him a year or 2 ago and told him about this stuff. He's like, people still mess with that? So I invited him to come to the conference. He hasn't come by yet. But it's really interesting. What are some of these things that are in here? Enhanced catalogs. You can get a catalog of what's at a logical page. Catalog A will start listing whatever's plugged into page A in the 41. Extended execute and assign. When you hit assign, it gives you 2 3-digit prompts. Assign what? Remember recall M, anybody?
Oh yeah.
145, what is it, 117? Or 144, 147, whatever it is. You type those in, it assigns that synthetic function to a key like that. All sorts of alpha and display functions are built into it. I mean, all sorts of things are built into this as enhancement functions here. Hex functions, hex prompt, alpha recall hex, all that kind of stuff. Different types of main and X memory functions, clear X memory, rename or retype files, read and write extended memory to disk. All it's just stuffed in here, right? Compile all go-tos. I like that one. So don't wait around for that long program to eventually hit all the branches. Toggle private, despite Richard's objections, we now have that. Toggle flags and all sorts of things. It includes as well, interestingly, the program generator from the AEC ROM. That was one of the ROMs. You actually type in what you want, in a basic-like format, and it will generate the 41 program from it. Quite impressive, and especially for a 4K footprint, the CCD OS Extension ROM. The Power CL Extreme ROM. This is Jeff had talked about this a little bit with the CL utilities and some of that kind of stuff. This is the grandson of that from back when the CL was first announced. It is, in fact. It includes 242 functions. Now, if you know about ROMs, ROMs for the 41 have a file access table, a function table, okay, function, whatever, something like that, right? And you can't get 242 of those into a single ROM, even an 8K ROM. You got a limit. Well, he's built all sorts of sub-fat tables and all this kind of stuff in there and jammed bizarre stuff. But I just love to use it. What are some of these functions? Missing OS functions, flag clear set, flag set, delete return address from the return stack. HPACS functions. You can automatically create 4, 8, or 16K pages of HPACS RAM. Does all the initialization, puts it out there in the appropriate spot. Extended memory functions. Runs programs in extended memory. Say your status registers to extended memory for loading again later. Bit functions, 1 and 2's complements, all sorts of rotations, different X and Y computations and comparisons. Over 30 alpha functions. Anybody use left string? You know, I mean, it's there in this ROM now. It uses a sub-function launcher to access more than the file access table entry limit for functions. So 242 functions in this ROM. SandMath 4x4. This is by far the star. I've mentioned it to several people. Harry Buricelli had always wanted the Super Math ROM developed, and he was just hyper on that. He hated the 28C when it came out because it wasn't what he wanted. Didn't have enough math in it. I think he would have been proud of this. This is an incredible ROM with a huge amount of math in it. It includes things like all the hyperbolic trig functions, of course, a fractions package, recall arithmetic, probability functions and distribution, sine, cosine integrals and their hyperbolic counterpart integrals, prime factorization. You remember the largest 10-digit prime? 8, 9, 6, 7, right? That's the largest 10-digit prime. Your brother used to always, for his speedy factor finder, that was the one to test, and it was hours and hours. The prime function on this, written in M code, solved it in less than 10 seconds and said it was prime. So that's pretty quick, pretty quick. A wealth of Bessel functions, numeric integration, and root finders, including those stolen from the Advantage ROM. You just grabbed the M code, dropped it in here. Base conversions, powers of 2, harmonic numbers, geometric sums, the HP unit management system, also lifted from an HP ROM and dropped in here, and all sorts of other stuff. It includes a curve fitting section. That by itself is 1.5K. Okay? That includes other big functions. A Taylor function takes about 1K, and this other error function here takes about 650 bytes. If you've run a ROM, who cares how big this stuff is? And if you're bank switching the ROM, who cares how big this stuff is? It also includes the solve and integrate functionality in M code from the Advantage ROM. It includes the geometry solvers from the AEC ROM. These solvers, one for triangles, for circles, and slope, angle, run rate, rise and run rather, are consolidated in one function. Even includes an M code implemented function for the time value of money, which is one of my favorite little aspects of it. So, you know, you got this, you can be solving your house payment and figuring out how you're going to walk up to the door of all the money you saved with the SARR. Here's pictures of the different functions. This is simply the catalog listing. Powers of 2, a harmonic number function, ceiling function. Is x equal to 1? Why? He wanted it. Extended y to the x. I mean, it's complete, rectangular to spherical, spherical to rectangular, quotient and remainder, turning on all the key assignments for the ROM. The overlay, by the way, pass that around. That's the overlay for the. An overlay is required for this. Just take a look at the overlay and just get. That's one of 2 overlays for this ROM on my 41CL right there. Is x equal to y rounded? On the displayed resolution, are x and y equal? Okay. Here's some other ones here. Decimal to fractions, the hyperbolic functions, recall power, recall subtract, I mean all the recall math, reciprocal gamma, beta functions, Chebyshevs, cosine integrals, discrete Hartley transformation. I don't know what that is. Generalized exponential integrals. Again, who knows? Error functions. The key is, right, if you need some math functions, this is it. I told Joe, I said, all right, your life depends on doing a hyperbolic sine integral of 1.4, 0 to 1.4 in 5 seconds or less. He's dead. With the 41CL, it's on the keyboard. I mean, it's incredible. Correlation, covariance, finally, for people that do that kind of stuff. Lambert W function, polygamma. I mean, this stuff over here. I mean, of course, for me, I like the probability distributions. Those are important to me. Different kinds of Henkel functions, Struve function.
That should be strudel.
Might have been. Jacobian elliptic functions. I mean, perimeter of an ellipse. I like that. If you see it in blue, by the way, it's M code. And most of these have been blue, which means they're very fast. They're very fast. The logarithm hyperfactorial. You can sleep well now. The logarithm hyperfactorial all in here. How many pages of these functions have there been? A lot. The multifactorial. The logarithm of the multifactorial, I mean, superfactorial. I didn't even never heard of that before. I was reading the manual. And by the way, the manual is over here, and it's I don't know, 100 pages long. The manual and the PDF for the manual is also on the thumb drive, as well as manuals and outlines for functions for all these different ROMs I'm talking about. You get the impression there's a lot of stuff there? Okay. And again, easy. Always there. You don't like it, unplug it virtually, plug in something else, put it back. It's all built into the 41CL. The Sand Matrix ROM. That was Sand Math. He's got another ROM that's a 16K ROM full of all sorts of equation, linear, and all this, matrices functions, all this kind of stuff. Has an 8K footprint, 128 functions, and 54 more in a secondary FAT. It's a complete algebra module with vector and polynomial functions, and includes the Ccd ROM M-code matrix set, a 3D vector calculator, different orthogonal polynomial functions. I mean, just look, all kinds of wild stuff down here, right? I mean, it's incredible to have this also available with the SandMath module, Roger.
Can you unplug or plug in a ROM in a program in software?
You can. You got to be very careful to know what you put where.
For doing a matrix and you suddenly wanted a polygamma function.
You can. The question is, like, can you unplug and under program control? Yes, but if you unplug something, you got to make sure you know what you unplugged if you want to put it back.
Oh.
There's no automatic way to go unplug and plug and return back to whatever I was before.
Yeah.
That's easy. Okay, these are also some interesting ones here. Paul Carruth, his M-code ROMs here. Angel Martin, a couple of weeks or months ago now, said, all right, look, let's get all this stuff out there. What have you got? Let's make ROMs out of it. And he had done a lot of M-code stuff in the late 80s, early 90s, but never published it. And Angel knew he had it, or heard that he had it, so he encouraged him to do it. These are 6 4K ROM images with all sorts of wild stuff in it. Things dealing with alpha and pointers, math and physics, flag in the stack, program utilities. Look at this. It includes a function, is x equal to y, z, or t? In other words, is the value in x somewhere else in the stack? If it's equal to x, it does one thing. I mean, if it's equal to y, it does one thing. Z another. It's like a go to.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, just one line. X equal to y, z, or t, and all sorts of timer utilities. So look at that. The manual for that and a programmer handbook we did is on the thumb drive.
That programmer handbook, if you care about M-code, is amazing.
It's an incredible achievement that he spent his time doing. The PPC applications ROM. When this call came out to let's generate some ROMs, I started thinking, you know, there was a lot of stuff in barcode in the PPC ROM manual that I'd have to go find the manual, scan in. Special characters demo and the special character stuff. Too big to put in the PPC ROM in the manual. Loan payment and amortization schedule. Huge thing. The curve plot, CVPL. All of these are now in this ROM. So it's an 8K ROM including everything from the PPC ROM manual. High-res plots and multiple plot functions that were in there. You don't have to take up RAM space anymore. You want it? Plug the thing in and you can start using them right away. The PPC applications ROM. User books with barcodes ROM. Okay, you remember all the books that are out there with barcodes, including Velotix, including Keith Jarrett. I mean, synthetic programming made easy, extended functions made easy. The green book from Bill Wicks. I mean, all these different kinds of stuff, right? So all of these, anything that was in these books, including the advanced programs tip books, are all in the ROM for the user books with barcodes ROM that's out there. Even a few of them I have not had yet. And the CCD ROM manual examples are all in there as well. Again, you may never need it, but it's there if you want it. Plug the thing in, go use the program. No need to find the books and scan the program, simply virtually plug the ROM image in, which is why we went to go look for these things. I didn't do much of any of that. I just helped encourage other people to go do it. I don't like the name of this one. This one's called Gene's Raw Files ROM, GRAW. It really doesn't have a lot to do with me. I didn't do any of these programs, but I also started thinking there's more programs out there. What's out there that's not already encoded somewhere? I don't need to go get a combinations program and find the shortest one out there if there's an encode function to do combinations or permutations. So I ignored that. But I went through the PPC journal. Thank you, Jackie and Jake, for the efforts you guys made to code all those programs into the text files that we could use and put in the emulators. That's how they got here, and they're now in these ROMs. I went through and found everything, in my opinion, that was either worthy of preservation, yes, that's why it's my opinion, or that I thought was missing and needed to be available in the software base. So it's an 8K ROM of some of the biggest programs from the years of the PPC journal and data file that weren't available in some other alternative encode form or whatever, something like that. It includes the Ron Knapp's program to do pi to 1,000 digits and E to 2,900 digits. Run that at 50 speed and it doesn't take, it gets done pretty quick. The Roger Hill's fast calendar program.
I don't have to ask you now. I was going to ask you.
Right? The fastest one and the short one that didn't take up as much RAM, but it's in ROM, so who cares how big the thing is? I mean, it was 1,300 bytes. It's in ROM now. This one, I really like this one. This is the H67 computer interpreter. The individual who wrote this essentially wrote a machine language computer to run on the HP-67. You load the registers with 3-digit opcodes, and it fetches them and evaluates them and chugs. It has a multiplication program that used to take like 5 minutes to multiply 2 numbers. It's just hilarious. Well, it runs a whole lot faster now, and there's now an HP-41 version. So if you want a programming contest, do a factorial program on that thing. Double integral program. Why did I put that on there? Because I had not seen anywhere where there was a double integral program in any of these ROMs. I thought, let's put it in here. A learning curve program. Richard was always hyper on learning curves, so there's a learning curve program in here. Snedeker's F-test calculation program. I hadn't seen one of those anywhere in any of the ROMs, so I just grabbed stuff to make sure I could put it in there. Then there's some games. A Sea Battle game. You can play Jingle Bells. That's now preserved. The Star Wars theme, which sounds awful. A rasp tone, another program that plays all 128 synthetic tones in a row.
Is it one of the?
You're kidding.
It plays them all in sequence.
Even the 20-minute long one?
You try it. I turn it off before it gets that far.
Yeah.
Okay, and the printer programs. A banner program. Remember all the time used to be spent on trying to generate banners off the 41? The banner program and the data are here. The biorhythm printer, a Star Trek Enterprise character, and Roger, the Valentine printing program that you also
had that one.
Okay, I don't know if it ever worked for you, but you can try again.
Oh yeah, well,
I don't mean work to print, but succeeded in what you gave the Valentine.
is that the one that used the Radio Shack plotter, or
No, this is for the 41. He did it on the 41.
from the 41 printer?
41 printer. Okay, HP Solution Book ROMs. These ROM images contain programs for every solution book HP ever made for the 41. Okay? Solution books included as ROM images. Look at that. Antennas, business stats, sales, chemistry, optometry. Stephen? Right? Test statistics, physics, solar engineering. It's all there. You don't have to find the books. Plug in the chemical engineering, civil engineering ROM, run the program. Sitting right there. It's all built in. No need to go find it. This is brand new here. The HP 16-seed M-Code emulator ROM. Library 4 is required for this. It's a 16K ROM. It has a 4K footprint. So it takes up just one of the logical pages, even though it's quadruple banked. It includes 125 functions in the main and secondary FATs. It provides support for up to 64-bit word size in all functions. I don't think that was ever on the 41.
No, that's an extension.
It's an extension. Okay, 50. That's right. Registers. So how does he hold 64-bit words? He uses a buffer floating around in between the different program areas to hold all the stuff. He's got a stack of X, Y, Z, and T that are duplicated out there that are 64-bit. I mean, it's just, they have a high-bit counterpart in the new 16C buffer. This stack can be saved and retrieved from extended memory. I sent it to Jake. Jake liked it, I think. Thought it was an incredible piece of work. So if you're doing computer science stuff, this is certainly a very wild and interesting adjustment to it. Now, HP-41 configurations. I like this part. You can set up all your ROMs in the 41CL. You're like, well, I wish I had more pages. Why can't I have 100 things live at once? Well, you essentially now can have 3 flavors of the 41CL and switch between them, where you have one set of virtual things plugged in with one function, a whole new set of things virtually plugged in. With another function you run, switch over to configuration number 3. So I have 3 completely different configurations on my 41CL using the Y Functions Extreme ROM. So you set them up and you simply do like store configuration 1. Set up your stuff. Do another configuration, store configuration 2. I can switch back and forth with one command. So a whole new flavor of everything plugged in. And you just recall it to go back and forth. There's also an exchange config function that will allow you to just swap it out. So you could have 4. 3 saved and an active. You just have to remember to swap it out all the time. I haven't done that. I've done the store and the recall. So here's my configuration. I have library 4, the time module physically plugged into the port. I have the OS extensions, the PowerCL Extreme ROM. That's really needed to power some of the other stuff. The Y functions. These are some of the overheads. I have a HPAX ROM in there, 32K ROM. I have 8K of HPAX RAM for some of my programs that survives a memory loss. SandMath, 32K of ROM and an 8K footprint. Pages E and F for the Sand Matrix ROM. So that's my first configuration. Here's my second configuration. Fairly similar. I get down here, I have the PPC User Applications ROM, page 1 of the 2. At the PPC ROM module, I have my raw files, and I have the Programming Tips ROM from McCormick, and then I have the Ghost Town ROM because I want to get lost and play with ghosts for a bit. The third one looks like this. Again, mostly the same. I have the Star Trek ROM in configuration 1 plugged in to my 41CL. I switched to a different 24K of ROM in configuration 2 and a different 44K of ROM in configuration 3. So I have 196K of pre-written ROM, more or less really kind of live, with an easy switch between, out of all the stuff that's in the flash RAM that can be plugged in at any time. I'm not counting the test statistics solutions book or any of this other stuff that's still out there, you know, in the kind of the secondary storage area. This is live with one command to switch and run time value money program, one switch to run something else. That's in addition to 8K of HPAX RAM. That's in addition to the 2K main RAM, 600 registers of extended memory, not bad for something that was introduced in 1979. So why bother with this? Familiarity, come on, it's the 41, right? It's a huge software base, really and truly is. I mean, it's not only everything that's been written up to this point, but it can be updated with new ROMs that are developed next week. It's really not that hard to get it done. And in some ways, it's not nearly as complicated. Why don't we use the 41 and still stay with a lot of the RPN machines? It's not as complicated as RPL or future endeavors. They're not as powerful in many ways, but I'll pick up a 41 to do something because I know I can get it done really quick. And it's always now very fast as well in Turbo 50 mode. So if you have a 41CL, update it. Start using some of these new ROMs. If you don't, what are you waiting for?
Where do you get the updates from?
The updates are found on the hp41.org webpage. That's where you get the ROM images for these things that are out here. You download them, and then you need the serial cable into the serial port on the back. Where's my 41CL, by the way?
Yeah, there's a
Right, you just like it's a little circular thing on the back of the ROM. You transfer them over into a RAM page on the 41CL. That is lost with memory loss or power failure. And then you can transfer it over to flash where you don't have to worry about losing it.
You can use HPIL too with the HPAX functions.
You can do that, and with the PIL box, you can get it over that way, right? Vladik, you had a question, sorry.
Frank Wells had a beautiful Dungeons and Dragons game that he wrote, in the first 2 years. I don't know whether that's on there or not. If not, it should be.
That's not Dungeon of Death. That was 42.
That's it.
Oh,
That was wasn't that the 42? It was 41. 41.
that's the one.
I made sure that one worked.
I think that is that's in the fun stuff, I
That
believe.
was missing a few, I had to search and call, that's what I'm thinking of. I had to call somebody and ask him what it was, because there was a section missing in the original printing of it. And I had to go back and find, there was a chunk of it missing, and I had to call the original author who said, what the heck are you calling me? Oh, okay, I'll see if I can do some, help you with that one.
Oh, so you've
30.
Frank. Good.
Yeah, it's like 30.
So I think it's in the fun stuff, ROM. The on the thumb drive is the directory listing for the fun stuff ROM, and you could easily scan down and see if the dungeon of doom or death, dungeon of death game is in there. If not, looks like there'll be another ROM issued in a few weeks after we get that thing. Anybody else? I mean, I love the 41CL. I really do.
One quick thing. Michael
Yeah.
Fellhammer in Germany has just made available overlays for the 16C app and the PowerCL Extreme app. So, and it's on the museum forum. But I have a couple samples of them. They're like $4 or $5 each. They're great, just like the original ones.
And my 41CL has the overlay on it for the SandMath ROM. You can buy those, and it really, of course, helps a lot with these complicated ROMs.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you if you printed that up or.
No, that's you buy that and they get shipped over from Germany. It's very reasonable,
Yeah.
and they're great. They're very well made.
What's the power draw like on this as far as versus the original 41C? Is it or C or CD? What's the power drain?
It is higher. It is a good bit higher, but that's not a death trap. It doesn't go dead in a day.
And can you
End cells are getting hard to get.
But so I have a rechargeable battery pack, and I just plug the thing in about every 2 months.
Another concern I always had about something like this is you're working with a 35-year-old piece of gear to support this. Is there some other support system for this? If I mean, eventually these 41s are not going to keep functioning. Is there another support system that you can connect this to or use it that can update it a little bit?
Of course, in the long run, all of us are going to quit functioning. But I mean, that's why if you have multiple 41s, hopefully some of them will survive. And you can always swap the board from one to the other.
A display. I have one that's the display's gone, for example. And I don't have parts to fix it.
eBay is your friend.
Well, that's what I would think. I mean, that's why you got to have a full nut. It can't be the half nut with the rounded edges. And there are still quite a few of those. I have the one that's mine's in now. I bought 41C full nut for $75 off of eBay.
Well, you can upgrade from a 41C.
C. Don't use a CX. All right, if you can avoid it, get a C because you're essentially throwing away the original board anyway.
Or CV.
Or a CV. Namir,
Any full nut machine.
Namir has one that's the tall keys. So do you.
Here's a tall key C from '79, which is the one I bought.
From
in
1979 that still works.
And it's version 1 of the board, and I got a CV in my London security box for London security. Yeah, and they're both loaded with key packs and overram.
Yes, sir.
You and I have talked about this in the past. One of the big problems with the older 41s is the port block. That's it's got four tongues out for the modules to plug into, and it's got the battery contact. Because that's such a thin copper plating, any kind of leakage on the battery destroys those. You told me that somebody had at one
Somebody does
point-
print
Diego.
Diego Diaz, who
He
spends
does?
half his time in the Dominican Republic, or is that Angel? Who's in the Dominican?
No. That's
Diego,
Diego.
Canary
The
Islands.
Canary Islands and the
But
Dominican.
just
It's
go
like
back to my talk on
less than
CL,
$20. I don't remember.
Right.
and I have all that stuff. So
But think about it again, though, right? If the plug-in ports up there completely die, the only thing I would lose out of my 41CL is the time module, because everything else is on the CPU board. No matter how corroded it is up there, what?
yeah, but you can print.
But that's
I don't have HPIL plugged in anywhere anyway. So
Could use your batteries either.
No, I'll come drive with you.
if the stuff up, you're right. If the contacts are dead. So anyway, look, if you're using it, update with some of the newer ROMs. They're fabulous. If you don't have one yet, there's one on the prize table right there, right? And Monty is always open for business. So I like to support somebody in our group that's come to our conference who did such a wonderful, wonderful thing. So thank you guys very much. We can always talk some more about it.